Good evening. Thank you for tuning in to Truth and Purpose Nexus. As always, this truth is never favorite. I am joined by my boops, Tequila. Hey, sweetie.
Hello.
When you guys come in, please like, share, and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate you. Today is the first episode of what we would call TNT, Truth and Tequila. This episode is bridging the divide between black men and black women. I thought of this conversation because behind the scenes, me and my lovey have had very heated conversations about this, but we both want what's best for people, our people, for male and female, for black men and black women. And our goal and our solution is for us to come together as a family, as we are actually in the midst of obtaining our journey of love, loyalty, longevity, life, and legacy. Anything you want to say, baby, before we begin?
Nope. You got it.
All right. So, as always, thank you guys for who stop in and just take a blink over here. I greatly appreciate it. You can be anywhere else. If you stop over here, you chose to be over here. Hopefully, you can learn something that you can use as application into your daily lives. That is the hope and the prayer. All right. So, first and foremost, let me give the disclaimer. Some things that, of course, for those who have heard me speak, might be, you know, kind of triggering to you. And hopefully, if you have any disagreements, you state it down in the chat, as long as you don't be disrespectful. And likewise, if you hear anything that my baby say that you don't like, please be respectful and state it down in the chat. If you have any questions about what we stated, please state it down in the chat and it will be answered. Thank you, guys. Okay. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use to tips the balance in favor of fair use. Fair use, fair use. All right, we are going to briefly, very briefly, look at a video that we have viewed in other platforms. This is a video back in the day with Nikki Gavani and James Baldwin, a very essential and pivotal video that I think all people should watch. It is very enlightening, has a lot of gems in it, and um, as always, I think we should take each and every day as a day to learn something new. So for those who haven't seen it, please watch it. Watch it to its entirety. For those who have watched it, like myself, I will continue to watch it over because as I notice things that I have reproofed, I gain something that I haven't seen before or read things that I haven't read before or have a deeper understanding. Uh, Sweetie, have you ever watched this video before?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, let's check it out real quick. Do, 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 do. Yeah, about to say mute up.
to say it. It can be misunderstood. But you have no idea, and I can never express to you to what extent I depend on you, or I mean you, Nikki Giovanni, and also I mean your generation.
My generation, yeah.
You know, um, I can even say you have no idea, and I can never express that either, because I have, in a way, I have no right to say it. But I'm very proud of you. Something has moved. Things move in a very strange way, and maybe inexpressible. If I wrote that essay today, for example, I would be writing a very different essay out of a very different kind of problem.
TK, are you familiar with James Baldwin at all?
Yes. Yes, I am.
Okay. And what about Miss Nikki Giovanni?
Not so much her. I've, of course, heard of her name. I've heard of her, but no, not of her work.
Okay. What do you know of James Baldwin?
Um, I just know he was a prolific speaker back in his day. Um, he was pretty much like I guess I would say, someone who loved his people, loved his blackness, um, and wanted the best for the black community.
Okay.
Problem.
Mhm.
I think that without quite realizing it, and no matter what our hangups are, as of this very moment, the hang up of my generation or the hang up of your generation, and the terrible situation in which all of us find ourselves, one thing has changed, and that is the attitude that black people have toward themselves. Now,
Now, I'm not going to go any further because I wanted to make sure I allow people to hear his sentiments right there because that's going to allow us to segue into our conversation. He stated that the attitude towards each other has changed. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. All right. So we know that along with, you know, the, I guess, the tyranny and the plight, um, I would say the mental anguish that still is long lasting. And I would agree still to this day in some ways because of what I understand about human biology, that racism still plays a part in our lives. What happened to us here still plays a part. It still is evident. A lot of times we talk about during racism the interaction between the master and the slave. Very rarely do we tackle the interaction, the, how do you say, the environment, the emotional, trying to think of the right word, the emotional toll between the black man and the black woman during slavery, what it did to each one, each party, the black man and what he endured physically, and then the black woman watching her leader, her protector, who she confided in for the number one need of a woman, that which is security, being emasculated, tore down in a position of powerlessness, and then inevitably powerless to help her and protect her, which is the number one directive given by God when He gave you guys to us. Provide security, provide provision, provide protection. When you think about or picture that in your mind, the interaction, the probable conversations that, husbands and wives, the black family back then in the midst of, racism. How do you think some of those conversations probably happen? Or what do you think that they probably endured or
Um, I think to start off, the conversations that they probably had was sticking together. Um, because I think they both saw each other struggle. Um, and they saw the importance of being one, being a family. Um, husbands and wives being split apart, children getting split apart from their families. Um, so there was a much there was more of a appreciation for one another. I believe back during slavery. Um, so I think the conversation pretty much was, like we got to stick together.
okay? So in the midst of all that calamity and torture, mental, physical, spiritual, emotional, um, you know, hell, we were more together then than now.
Hmm. I believe so.
Okay. So why do you think that it was when we had so much less?
Um, because only thing we could rely on was each other. Besides God, all we had was each other. That's why. I mean, we had nothing else. Nothing else technically was ours. Eve, honestly, we weren't even ours. We belonged to someone else. Our children was someone else's property. So yeah. Um,
Okay.
only we can hold on. We could find joy in was knowing that we loved each other.
Okay. So we had less distractions. We had less things to create idols to find pleasure in, to find happiness, which is temporary, to find comfort. We had no choice but to turn to each other for all those fulfilling things. Is that what you're
Hmm.
saying?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna give you a scenario and for you to try to picture. So in the midst of I'm gonna use me and you. You're standing there watching me get beat. I got a collar around my neck, being choked, hollering, yelling. Don't even know why I'm being beaten. I just got finished working hard through a hard day, and maybe I fell short on something. And you're there to watch along with our daughter, who was probably only like 2 years old, and you're watching the man who you look at as strong, powerful, being beaten, can't protect myself, can't do nothing. And then after the guy beats me, he then comes and starts beating on you because he heard you yelling. After that takes place, what do you think? And I did nothing. The baby's holding on you, crying. I'm standing there just yelling, stop. Ain't do nothing. How would you feel?
Um, Powerless, um, distraught, sad. Um, yeah, that, those are. That's how I think I would feel because like you said, it was nothing you really could do. Um, yeah.
Well, let's say,
If you wanted to stay alive, if there was nothing you could do.
right. That's where I was about to go with. I was about to say, he had turned his attention to you, and I'm actually free. I can do something to him. Would you look at me as less of a man?
Well, you got to think they had a different mindset. So it wasn't so much that they looked at them as less of a man. It was that they understood each other's plight. Um, you know, the woman understood like if he actually takes up for me, he'll lose his life. And you were her joy, right? So she didn't want to lose you in the physical to take up for her. And then once you're gone, she's still gonna get abused, hurt. So I think for them, they just said, stay alive. They just live and fight another day.
Right. And I wanted to start there because those type of things still happen to this day, just in a different form, where men aren't able to be their complete selves. And yet, like you said, you believe that women were stuck by their men even in the most horrific times where they were actually being abused, raped, severely disrespected, and itemized. And then the children that you guys had to sit there and watch that daily. But yet you stated that you believe that women still stuck with that man through it all and loved them through it all and said, "We are going to get through this, through it all." Why do you, well, I ain't gonna say why. Do you ever think we can get back to a place where women love men? Because we didn't have anything. We didn't have no money, no cars, no houses, no clothes, no jewelry, no assets, nothing. It was just the man. Could we ever get back to a place where women love men for just being a man in his just beautiful, what he is in all his glory and all his beauty? Just a man. I love the man because he's a man. He's something different than I am. And I love his difference. Will we ever get back to that?
Um, no. And I say that because um, the reason why women honestly stopped loving men like that, and I guess appreciating them for just being who they are, is because they didn't feel loved and appreciated. Honestly, they felt. I know a lot of women felt unappreciated. They didn't feel appreciated at all. They all the love, all the understanding, it was all for naught, really. Like they didn't. Those women weren't appreciated by their men, and I feel like, well, not that I feel like, I know that as years went on, women, started teaching their daughters, like, these men don't care about you. So you got to focus on you and do it for yourself. It all happened when I feel like the biggest divide happened because honestly, men weren't appreciative of their counterparts, women. And if we're speaking on black people, black men weren't, uh, they didn't appreciate black women.
Okay. What way were they not showing appreciation?
Um, if we're gonna take it back to the 1800s, right after the Civil War, uh, they had incentives for black men to marry black women, right? We were going to have two separate worlds: the black America, which we still kind of do have, but it was going to be really segregated. You got the free black Americans, and then you got the white people, and there were incentives for those soldiers who fought in those wars. They were going to get more land and more opportunities if they marry their women. But a lot of them didn't, believe it or not. They didn't. They just wanted to relish in being free. Before all the segregation laws really took play, before Jim Crow, men in the 1800s, black men, could marry white women. They could sleep with white women. Honestly, they really could. There, when Jim Crow came around, that's when it became, um, outlawed. That's when it became a crime. And you had the miscegenation laws put in place. Um, so, I think black men. back in that time, not all, some of them, they were just so excited to be free and to kind of just do whatever they wanted. And, you know, black women represented struggle for some of them men. They wanted something different. Because we got to think, even though we stuck by each other during slavery, we were also getting brainwashed that, you know, white is right, white is better on both sides.
Hmm. See, today I learned something from my baby. I didn't know that. I didn't even ever think about that. Okay. All right. So now we got foundation. Okay. Let's deal with that. So let me ask you from your mindset. Do you think they had a reasonable uh, 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 how do I say this? Do you think that they were in the right of going towards freedom instead of no, let me say this, not in the right, because you know how I feel about that. Do you understand why they chose freedom over their women, since you said that's what happened?
Yeah, because they didn't, that was their wildest dream. So they wanted to live in it. They wanted to bask in that. They wanted to experience it.
Go
So
speaking.
if it was to sleep with that white woman or to marry that white woman, that's what they did.
Okay, so essentially they chose comfort and pleasure over family because of the what we now know as PTSD and
Hmm.
emotional toll of going through slavery. Uh,
Yeah,
I could see how you said since the our women endured it with us, seeing them, reminded us of a place where we were together, and where we were together, we was in the midst of that held it up. So I can understand what you meant by that. Um, very interesting. Okay, so now black men chose comfort, pleasure. We chose to indulge in, you know, alcohol, drugs, foreign women over family and structure and what's right. We chose that. So naturally that left a sense of animosity in the women.
absolutely. But I mean, not just then, because what I will say is a lot of those women back then, they still loved black men because we birth y'all. We give birth to you. So when we see black men, we see our children just as much as if we see a black woman, we see our daughter. We see a black male, we see our son. So there is this thing where, you know, like you see yourself. We see. I know for me, when I look at a black man, I see me. He may not look exactly like me or anything, but I know I see me. I see a reflection of me,
So you see yourself with
just
me.
in a male's body, you know. So what I'm saying is, a lot of women still loved black men even after slavery and even during Jim Crow times, like reconstruct. Well, I just skipping all over Reconstruction period. So yeah, slavery, Reconstruction period, and then, you know, the Jim Crow times.
Okay.
I think what else happened during I want to say early Jim Crow, like the early 1900s, um men, and this would be all races of men, but we're just speaking on black men right now. Um they would do something called like a poor man's divorce. So they would have babies with women, with their wives, I mean, and leave. One day say, "Oh, I'm going out looking for some work. I'll be back." Or I'm going out to grab, um, some milk. I'll be back. And literally disappear off the face of the earth. Just start a new life somewhere else. That was happening a lot too. Um, I, I really believe in my heart of hearts, black women got frustrated and are to this day still frustrated. But black women got frustrated and they started to teach their daughters to not love, reverence, respect black men.
Agreed. Um,
But it came from a place of, hurt, and it also came from a place of not feeling appreciated. Honestly, because when you think about it, when people talk about slavery, they never really think about what the woman really endured. I'm not saying that what we endured was greater than the male. I'm just saying we endured too. A lot of us was in those those fields right along with you. When the whip was getting cracked across your back, it got cracked across ours as well. We had to work in the fields pregnant. Or if we weren't in the fields, if we were in the house or doing something, we were still working pregnant. Some of us had to have multiple babies back to back to back. You know, they started breeding young girls as soon as they got their cycles. Sometimes their bodies weren't developed enough to even really have those babies, and they would either pass away or end up destroying their bodies because their bodies aren't developed enough to actually carry the baby. um there's so many things. I mean, just think about it. You know how women, how we don't feel well when we're on our cycles. Just think about us having to work through cramps and those headaches and back pains that we have. So what I'm saying is, we went through it too. We went through it too. And a lot of those women just did not feel appreciated. They didn't feel appreciated.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. That's why the first thing I did, I didn't talk about the man's POV. I asked from the woman's POV because I understand that the woman was there. And that's why I said the first thing we think about slavery, we talk about the master and the slave, the male master and the male slave. We very rarely talk about the plight of the black woman and what she endured mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. So that's why I started there.
Hmm.
Now, um, I'm glad that you touched down on a point of reference that we need to did when we like to say the women of yesteryear were polar opposites of you guys today. Like you stated, the mothers, the grandmothers were telling the youthful women, take care of yourselves. You cannot depend on the black man. You need to get your education. You need to get yourself financially stable. We are no longer dependable. Rightfully so, because I do know those things that you stated happen. This is not conjecture or innuendo. This is truth and fact. Factual truth. Where I will give a little adjustment, I think because of what happened to you guys, I would say a lot more women abandon their families. I would say the ratio tips in the abandonment of family more to the women than to the man. That's where I would
Um,
differentiate.
I disagree only because there were laws in the early and mid 1900s where if a divorce were to happen, the males automatically get custody of the children. That's why Aretha Franklin was raised by her father. Um, they automatically get sole custody of their children. Um, but so many men, honestly, walked away from their families. They became expendable. Very few of them just, passed away, and that's why they weren't there. But a lot of them really walked away, and they had to change those laws because somebody had to raise those kids. But that used to be law, and I would like for you to just, look into that one day, and maybe we can look into that together a little later. But that's truth right there. That men used to get full custody of their children
No, I do
in
know
a
that.
divorce.
No, I do know that.
Right. And I'm saying the reason why that changed was because the men weren't dependable. They became expendable.
Okay. Would you say that majority of men were leaving their families?
Mm, a good portion. I would not say majority, but I would say a good, maybe I would give it half. I would say probably half. I would call it straight down the middle. Some of them, yeah, I would say it was half, and then the other was probably, um, death. But other than that, or if it wasn't death, then maybe some type of disability that made it so that he couldn't really provide and work for and yeah, provide and support his family.
So you're stating that majority of black men.
Not majority. I would give at least half or a little under half.
Okay. So no, that's what I said. Now, was the other half doing what they were supposed to do?
Yeah, I would say that.
Oh, okay. That's what. Okay.
I
So
would say that. I would say that. Yeah, but I would say if they were doing what they were supposed to do, something might have happened where they either passed away or, like I said, became ill, disabled, or
no,
something.
what I meant by the I'm talking about fully functional black men in their families, all the way
Yes, there
to
were there were some ones that who actually did the right thing. Yes.
okay. What percentage would you say?
I don't know. I would
Just
say
like you,
I'll
just
I'll
like
just I'll just I'll just be fair and say half. I'll say half did and half did. Half did. I'll just leave it there.
Okay, half. Okay, so fully balanced. Okay, so
I'll split down the middle. Even though I mean, because I don't know I can't give you actual numbers and percentages, and I don't want to say the wrong thing. So I'll just say half. But even though I believe that it was less than half that did the right thing, I will throw that out there.
okay. Well, I will state that I will probably say it was 40-60. I would state that the men that, or probably 35-65, the men that were married, it was more men that did what they were supposed to do than it was men that corrupted and left, I would say disobeyed God. That's how I'm going to put it. Because that's essentially what that is. It was more men that were already married. So the married people, that percentage of black people, it was more, it was 65% of that percentage of black people that were married that did what they were supposed to do. And then we had the half that left for drugs, alcohol, crime, just to leave their wives for sex and, to do whatever they want to do. You know, even the DV and SA, all those type of things. I do not believe that majority of black men operated in that functionality when they decided to get married. Um, I believe. Oh, thank you, Natasha. I believe. I do know for a fact the things that you stated did happen. I do know when you were married, the children were with the father, which this is the reason why I currently state that I believe that should happen to this day. I do understand why that changed. Um, if divorce happened since men have walked out, they was deemed unfit, which is reasonable. And also a good avenue to broach later on because it essentially shows while instead of being a martial thing, child support became um, a general thing for all people. Um, that is something good to remember. Okay, so to move forward, we already know that the women are telling their daughters, granddaughters, not that black men are, you know, ain't sherbert. So now we stepping into the avenue of welfare. We know that was not originally designed for the black man and black woman. It was broached by the white woman. And then essentially you guys took that on as a form of stability and comfort. Where do you think, hold on, let me see. Do you think that was a good choice?
Um, I guess in the long run, if we're trying to build families, no. But you have to think those women were trying to survive. A lot of those women, and trust me when I say this, a lot of those women did not choose welfare over over their husbands or their men. They did not do that. Um, they needed to survive. Uh, Like I said, when you believe it or not, welfare was afforded to men and even black men before it was black women. And if you were married, you could get help as a family. So the problem was that a lot of black men, they used to like to say, yeah, there were more black men married back then. A lot of them weren't marrying. They were having babies but not getting married. And those women had to support their children. I mean, as a mother, I know if my daughters say, "Mommy, I'm hungry," and I can't feed them, and then I'm looking at this man that I had these kids with, and he can't feed them, I'm going to choose to get that welfare and feed those kids. That's just what I'm going to do, because that's what you do as a mother. You don't want to see, your children hungry or lacking. Those women were in survival mode. I really believe in my heart of heart, men dropped the ball. They dropped the ball. And I'm not saying that it's all their fault because, like I said, a lot of the time, I mean, some people don't want to say it's a thing as post traumatic slavery syndrome, but I definitely believe that. A lot of men, were suffering from that. Even women too. But men, they wanted to live in freedom. So they didn't, some of them, they didn't want to really work as hard as they needed to work. Some of them just wanted to do whatever. Be, I guess what my grandmother would say, hoodlums. You know, some didn't want any responsibility at all. They just walked away from their families, or they didn't marry those women.
Okay. So now we got the women don't want us. Now we started to turn to foreign women, white women, Hispanic, foreign women. We're now dating them. And I know that a lot of black women do not like that. They find it offensive, detestable, and disrespectful. Now, my question is this, because we've seen the evolution of this thing went from, uh, you know, mail order brides to now the passport bros. Why are you guys offended or upset about something that you don't want when it goes to find love in another place?
Um, for So most of the women that I associate myself with and that I talk to don't care. I'm gonna just be completely honest. So
Okay.
I would have to be speaking on behalf of women who do. Um, I would say older women do care. Our mothers, grandmothers probably cared about black men being with other groups of women. I would say my generation, millennials on down, really don't care. Um, so I'll just speak for my grandmother. She cared because she lived through the Jim Crow times, where if a black man looked at a white woman, there's a possibility he's jailed or he's hung or he's shot. So she's like, "How dare you? Why would you even risk your life like that?" Or like it was like a slap in the face to them. Um, like we stuck by you guys, but you want something else after we stuck by you. Um, but if I want to speak on my generation, um, we really don't care. I think where we get offended is when men try to put other groups of women against us, try to say, oh, they're better women, or oh, they're more beautiful, oh, they're more feminine, oh, they're this. They try to weaponize them being with other women against us. And that's the anger and the animosity you may see from my generation. It's
Mm,
not so much that you're actually doing it, it's just that you're trying to throw in our faces that they're so much better than us. When actuality, in all actuality, they're not. I mean, I'm just being honest, they're not.
okay. Well, for the sake of this conversation, I'm not going to veer off subject, but we'll deal with that on another day. Uh, to get back to the point about the women sticking by that man, you do know that even though you probably are staying in something, that doesn't mean you are in compliance in also making a house a home. You do know that you guys are very verbally volatile in your own right. Y'all can be volatile and physically abusive in your own right. Y'all also say things that, you know, if we go down, y'all can go to hell. Like we'll say something about you, you'll say something about our mother. Uh, those type of things usually veer for a man to run because now it's where a woman stands and challenges a man on another level, on his level. Essentially, it can get heat because at the end of the day, he's a man and he functions as a man. And when other males come into contact with him on that type of level, it usually gets volatile. It's very limited how far that goes, where some of us will argue with you guys for hours. I have never seen two males argue for more than 5 minutes. They either don't fight or hands is being thrown. So essentially, they can't even operate in their full functionality as a man. So they have to leave in order to, make sure they remain in their frame to recognize that you are the weaker vessel and you could get seriously hurt. Um, Most men, they don't want problems or chaos, or they ain't got time for it because they're thinking about so many other things of just being a man, which is the hardest job on this planet. And a lot of men back in those days, like you said, they just got out of slavery. Now they got to build themselves and find a footing to make themselves valuable in this world, which is another avenue. And then now you got also the plight of the woman that just got finished going through slavery with you. She has problems now. She has issues now. And those issues are in the household. So those are variables and reasons that they have left as well that you have to add to the pot.
Yeah, of course. I mean, everything is cause and effect. Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. All right, so now we're going to get down to the great era, the 1980s. Um, it was a great era, but it also brought in a lot of trouble for us. Crime bill, mass incarceration, drugs on a whole nother level, death on a whole nother level, uh, being armed, taken in the Second Amendment on a whole nother level, child support, uh, marriage rate plummeting, children being without fathers on an alarming level. Uh, Women are now more educated, have higher paying jobs than most of their men. Factories are now being shut down, which men have now been able to sustain a whole family on, but now they can't. A lot of men from the wars not being taken care of when they come. Their legs is gone, so they're going back home to their wives and families. Half of a man. Some of them their daggone genitalia ain't working, so they can't please that woman no more. Coming home with PTSD, mental illness, Agent Orange. All these are factors coming in. The man that's returning to these homes or the man that in these homes ain't the same man. So where what do you do when you're and I'm trying to get you to look from a man's point of view. All the scenarios I just gave you. What do you do then and you have a wife at home and you're going through any one of those things that you want to choose? What do you do?
Um, Honestly, I don't know. I mean, because there would be it. I don't know because it depends on the temperament of the man and his personality and all of that. I mean, some men, I would say, would turn to religion, and that did help a lot of men in those times. They either went to the Nation of Islam or Christianity. Um, yeah, so religion helped a lot of men in those times. Um, Also, um, I would say some men may need counseling. Um, but that's something that in our community that we don't utilize enough. We don't utilize therapists and counselors and psychiatrists and stuff. So we don't prioritize our mental health. Um, so I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. So now we have broken homes. Boys and girls growing up without their fathers. Women, the mothers has a boy and a girl. She raises her daughter. Don't trust me. She's raising her son to be something that she cannot raise him to be. So he's essentially watching his mother be the enforcer. And now he's taking on her traits because he looks at that as strength, power, fortitude. He speaks like her. He thinks like her. He reasons with emotions like her. And of course, she's teaching him black woman is God, essentially. They're little princesses. You be sweet to them. A woman hits you, you don't do nothing to her. A woman won't never do anything wrong to you as long as you treat her good. Speaking in absolute. So those two children grow up to be adults. One girl goes out here, meets a boy that was raised by a good mother, has a father. Good boy. She gamed the mess out of him, takes his money, has other men on the side. The boy, he grows up, he deals with another girl the same way. He's too emotional to know how to deal with her. But he more resembles and align with his mother. So he doesn't know that he's a boy really. You know he has a penis, but his mentality is of a woman. So the girl hits him. He hits her back. He stands there and argues with her for hours. He gets emotional, cries in front of her, gets vulnerable, all that type of stuff. And all that does is turn the girl off because her biological imperative is not to deal with something that isn't like her. She needs something that is not like her. And let's say later on, that boy, then them two have a child, but they're not married. And let's say he loses his job, and then eventually he doesn't want to work. And then the daughter, she grows up successful, making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Can't find no man. Having a lot of sex. She can find men that like her. She got something between a man that her legs that a man will always want. So she's going to get plenty of that. But she doesn't have stability. She doesn't have family. She doesn't have commitment. She doesn't have loyalty. All these things birth because the man is not inside of the household. We know that is the evident fact. What I'm asking you is this, because we identified the problem now. We have essentially not understood each other's pain and what we went through and what we're going through. We haven't taken time out to understand that that is why we can't even begin to communicate. Essentially, we look at each other and we see that we do not care about each other. I want you to do what I want you to do. You want me to do what you want me to do. Not understanding if I even got the capability to do it. Not understanding if you got the capability to do it. So since we are both extremely messed up, your idea is a man is nothing and you can do what you can. You're better off taking care of yourself. And the man, we see men still want women. We're always going to want women. It's in our nature. Our idea of where we fall short is because we want you guys to have what we talked about initially. Men want you to love us as men. And you said that we would never get back there. So the answer to a question you told me that what you wanted, you said you wanted black families to come together. Essentially, That will never happen because of what you stated. You will never look at us just as a man, ever. You said we're not going back to that. And men are going to want to be valued and heralded at what we are. We are the leader. We are the kings of our kingdom. We are the men. And those of us that are decent men, we're still feeling the effects and being punished for the ones who have fallen short, for the ones who have let y'all down. Y'all essentially don't want to be controlled or guided or told what to do because as y'all state so much, oh, I did that already, but it failed. Instead of looking at yourself and say, I did that to something I chose and it failed. So I can't get mad and take it out on the other man because it wasn't him and I chose the other man. I allowed myself to be with this man. I chose that this was a God that I can submit and be compliant with. You have to ask yourself, why did you do that? What did he show that made you say you could submit and be compliant with? That inevitably you found out you can't because he misused it.
Um, you said a lot there. What I will say is, at this point, we have to meet each other where we are, right? And there has to be some sort of compromise on both ends, in my opinion. I feel like women, um, we got to give a little bit, um, and y'all got to give a little bit. I think, but everybody is so stuck on their idea of what how they think it should be, and either side is willing to compromise because we aren't people from yesteryears. We're not those people from the early 1900s or those people doing Reconstruction in the 1800s and our ancestors doing slavery. We're not those people. We're not those people. We are modern people at this day and age. We live in a modern time. So I'm not saying that um, your morals and principles have to change, but you have to evolve because we're living in a new time. And I think some people are kind of too stuck in the past. And yeah, we are here at this point. Women are very educated um, and very successful. And I don't think it's ever going to go back to a time where women are going to be less educated and less successful. Um, Also, with men, there's a it's so many things going on with men. You do still have that class of men who are men's men who um you know want to do the right thing, that do the right thing, um that work hard, love themselves, their family and their communities. But then there's a good portion of men who say F those kids or just don't care. They just living just to live. So I think what has to happen is we got to compromise with each other because we're in a new we're in a new day and age. You're not going to get those women from those times where they just put up and take anything because now They don't have to. They can go out and work their own. They can go out and work jobs and take care of themselves, and don't have to depend on the man for everything. Because some of those women, I mean, just to get a bank account, you had to have a husband. Um, for a job to sometimes even consider you, you had to be married. So there's not that importance anymore of marriage. Um, I just think what we have to do as a people, if we're going to continue to try to come together and work together, we got to compromise. We got to understand each other's plight, understand what we went through together and what we went through separately. And yeah, I think what we're lacking is compromise.
Okay. So the funny thing that I love when I hear you guys talk about compromise, y'all use the word but not the actual definition. Compromise usually means more in your favor, less of what you have to do and more of what the man has to do. So many of you guys want traditional men, but you're not traditional women at all. And then y'all don't want to operate in traditionalism. Y'all want to operate in modern age, is all contradictory and hypocrisy and actually stupidity. You want something that you are not. You want to do things that you are not doing. You want to function, you want the title of something that you're not willing to function in. So how can they be compromised when there's only convolution, conflating, and confusion?
True. A lot of men are not traditional men. They're not. They're just not. My whole point of what I was saying was that we're living in a modern time where we have modern men and modern women. And what I see is, yes, there are women who want traditional men, but aren't willing to operate in traditional roles. And the same thing goes for men. They want these traditional women, but don't want to operate as a traditional man. Because what I could say is, I hear men all the time talking about how they want these traditional women, but then they also want to go half and half on the bills and say, well, in order for us to survive, we got to have two incomes and da 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 and blasey blasey, and you got to help out and do. But no, that's not being traditional, really. That's very modern.
Absolutely,
Um,
I agree.
so what I'm saying is, we just we we got to compromise because we're living in a new day and age. That's all. And I feel like men and women aren't compromising. It's not just the women saying, "Oh, I want this, I want this, I want this," and I'm not going to do this for you, though. I think it goes both ways.
So I'm gonna tell you what I see. I'm gonna tell you this: majority of men will operate in tradition. We still have to. The laws make us still be traditional. It makes us do it. A lot of different things make us do it. We are, when it comes to child support, predominantly the sole supporter of the child. That's what monetarily wise, when it comes down to the numbers. So that's just one avenue. When we're talking about traditional, and we're talking about usually the reference point is when men pay all the bills. Very rarely have I heard a man say, I'm not paying all the bills. I'm not paying all the bills, and the woman is not working. What he stated is, I'm not paying all the bills, and then she get to stack her money and do whatever she want to do with it. That's the difference. What happens is the men will remain modern. They'll pay all the bills. I mean, traditional. But the women love this modern avenue because they want to work. They don't want to operate in traditional responsibility. They want to operate in traditional benefit. You guys don't want to stay at home to raise the children in love and nurture. Y'all don't want that. That's part of traditionalism. Y'all want to work and then receive the other side of traditionalism, which means receive a traditional man where he works and give you all of his money. He pays all the bills and then treats you to the things that you want and then also help you keep up with the Joneses and your homegirls. You want to be able to have your girls' trips, which is not traditional. You want to be able to operate and function and go to clubs and all this other stuff where women did not lead, wasn't out here uh, openly being all these type of different types of women and getting involved into these different type of events and all those type of things. All those are not traditional women or attributes of traditional women, but y'all want the traditional man. Very rarely have I heard a man say, I'm not paying the bills. You want to know why? Because most of us will say that that is the automatic job of the man is to pay the bills. That is his reasonable thing to do. You are supposed to pay the bills. What men are saying because of what I was trying to tell you, that thing that y'all used to have back in the day, that reverence because we are a man, we understand you guys don't have that and we are being used. So now what men are saying is, since you think you're going to use me, oh no, I'm smart enough to know the game now that you're running. We're going 50-50 because you're not using me. You don't love me. You love what I can do for you. Your love is not unconditional, it is conditional. So we will both, since you want to operate in this modern age and work, now we are going to go 50-50 because you're operating in the modern age. I'm pretty sure if women say, hey, you know what? I'm not working no more. I'm going home and take care of the children, the household, and if I'm blessed enough to find a man, I'm taking care of my husband. A man will have no choice but to take care of everything. You know why? Because he still has to live. You're with him. You're married to him. You're in the household with him. The children are with you guys. So he's got to have lights on. So naturally you're with him. The lights is going to be on. He has to eat. So naturally you're with him. You're going to eat. He has to be clothed. You're going to be clothed. He has to take care of his children. You're not working. So he has to take care of you if you're married. That's just basic, what's the name? It's not going to be, oh, that's your wife and you're not taken care of. Men is not going to stand around and let that happen. It just would happen. And nobody has ever seen a man say, this is my wife, but I'm not feeding, clothing her. I'm not feeding, clothing her, taking care of the children at all. And men around him let him get away with that. He would have to do that without somebody knowing. And very rarely, if a woman is in that type of position, she's going to speak out and say, this is not happening and have evidence to show that she's not being taken care of. her children's not being taken care of. If you guys stop working, which is traditional, like you said, take care of the children, be home, be wives, be women, be wives, be mothers. A man has no choice but to operate in that functionality if he wants a wife. It's just simple math. I can't have a wife without taking care of everything because she's not working. But since you guys want to work, guess what happens? Where the money going at? Oh, I got different bank accounts. I got one I got a rainy day fund just in case if you leave me. Oh, so your disposition in your mind is already that I'm going to do something wrong to you. So how can you love me completely if you already think I'm gonna do something messed up? You already got a disposition that I'm a F nigga. Go ahead. I saw you come off with my. Go ahead.
Okay. So I will say this again. Women have to work to survive. They had to work to survive back then, and now they have to work to survive now, right? Women, it's about survival. Um, a lot of those women, like I said, our grandmothers, some of them were left destitute because all they had was their man. And when he left, or if he decided that he didn't want to be responsible anymore or something, they were left hungry, homeless. So, of course, they're going to continue to teach their daughters, so forth and so forth. Each generation, you got to have something for yourself. If this man leaves me, I cannot be left destitute. If this man leaves me, I got to make sure I can still take care of these kids and myself. So honestly, I don't feel like it's anything wrong with a woman, and it does not mean she don't love you or she feels like the relationship's going to fall apart. But I do not see anything wrong with her wanting to have something on the side. Honestly, I feel like both parties should have something on the side. I feel like men should do it too because you just never know. You just never know.
Well, I look at that as deception.
And on top of that, I mean, let's go back to child support. I would like to speak on that. With child support, you were saying most men carry the weight of the children by paying child support, which is not necessarily true. Um, most men are barely cracking $200 in child support a month. A lot of these men are paying 40, 50, $60 in child support. Now, the celebrities and maybe some well to do men are the ones who are paying a whole lot of money in child support. But nah, mm-mm. A lot of men are not really doing what they're supposed to do when it comes to their responsibilities and paying for those children. Um, yeah, so and then when you think about it, it's so much more. You know, you and I both have children. Like, you know, it's so much more that these kids are into. They play sports, they do this, they do that. Um, I just would not say that men are carrying the load financially when it comes to their kids. They aren't. Some men may be, but most aren't.
Okay. So as I was going into, if I don't believe a man should marry a woman, if she has there should not be multiple accounts. That breeds deception. When getting married, if a woman has done correctly throughout the marriage, and even laws is in place to protect her with this, there's a thing called alimony. If the guy does wrong, she can get that. That's why that law is in place. So the notion is, in most women when they have that fund, and we already know majority of women get divorced. So they got that fund because they're like, okay, when I'm ready to go, I'm ready to go. That's what that's for. And we already know that there's a thing called irreconcilable differences that's going on now. Marriages are being broken up without DV, without adultery now. It's just because, oh, I don't like you no more. Or I believe there's something better. I'm unhappy. I'm looking at my girl's relationship or my mommy's or somebody else's relationship, and I believe I want it to be like that. I'm coveting other people's relationship. I want what they have. So I want to go see if I can get that. That's how most of this stuff is really happening out here. It's not even that very rarely have you even heard that, oh, the man is not taking care of home or even working. It's coming from stuff like that now. So that's what I'm saying. Men are working. Men are making money. Now, if y'all pool of men, what y'all can only get is the guy that ain't making nothing, then that's what you could get. You can't complain about that. If you can't get the men that's not, can work and do for themselves and all that type of stuff, that's what you are attracting. That's what you are able to get. And instead of you going to or waiting for something else and keeping your legs closed or whatever like that, a lot of women are dealing with them type of men, having sex, and then once they have sex, emotions come in, and then they like, okay, well, let's see if I can make this into longevity. When the guy is not even a husband, he's not even a father. He's none of those things that talk about longevity. A lot of the things you guys choose, they're not fathers and husbands. Y'all try to make them into that, or you believe they're going to turn into those things. If you get pregnant, they automatically going to turn into a father. If you give them between your legs, they automatically going to turn into a husband. No, that's not how it works. They need to be a husband and a father in their mentality, in the way they move, in their spirit. Fathers, husbands, they go to work and they come home and that's how it usually works. Because they know they got to come home to their wives, they got to come home to their children. So they already operate in that form. That's what I'm saying. Y'all don't understand the things that y'all asking for because y'all not even looking for that. Y'all looking for a guy that look good, smell good, funny, vibing, and then y'all want to screw. And then y'all going to say, yeah, now we're dealing with each other for a while, now we're going to get married. And then the guy, he don't do nothing but go to work, and then he's out. He's always doing something. And then you automatically expect that guy that has been always doing something and doing things while y'all together to all of a sudden just be home. It doesn't make logical sense. And we know those type of men actually exist. I understand the men that aren't fathers and husbands are out here. I get that. Then why are you guys choosing them? Why even deal with them? Why even mess with them? Because the problem is the concept of what a man is, you guys don't know what it is. Why? Because we just talked about it. The father wasn't in the household. And this is why I go back to suggesting that the children go with the father regardless when the mother and father break up. Because they have to have that. The son needs that in order to grow up into a man. The daughter needs that in order to be able to handle and understand what a man is so she can choose well. They have to have a masculine male figure in their life, that presence. They have to. That is essential. Or they're going to grow up and and fail. Be failing at a lot of aspects in life. Go ahead. I saw you come off.
Um, I don't agree with that. I think
Why you don't? What part don't you agree
I
with?
believe a man cannot raise a girl to be um a woman. He can he can raise her to be a functioning good adult, but to actually be a woman, I really feel like to learn the essence of womanhood, you have to be around your mother or women in your family. Um, and I feel the same way with boys. Like boys, I mothers can raise boys to be functioning, productive people in society, but to really raise him to be a man, I feel like he needs to be around his father. So I really believe that if the parents were to split, it should go by sex versus unless the other parent is unfit. So like if the mother is if she's worthless, if she's crap, rubbish, then of course the child, if it's a female, needs to go ahead and go with the father. Um, but in my opinion, I believe if parents split, that the girls should be with their mothers and the boys should be with their fathers.
Okay. So now with the daughter, and like you said if the mother's rubbish, can okay, we already know the way the system works. The mother could be on drugs and then still give the child to the mother. So we that doesn't matter. And what we consider rubbish, what I might consider rubbish, isn't what the world would consider rubbish. I would probably consider rubbish. You could have a mother that works, house, nice house, everything got a good job, but she bringing men in and out of that house, sleeping with them. She has parties and stuff over there when the children need to go to school the next day. The child go to school fresh to death, but the child is failing. Grades are sorry because the children is not on the schedule. There's no structure. The child does something wrong, the mother does not punish them. That is a rubbish mother to me. But what the world do is look out on outside. She's clean. She has a Benz. She making money. all that type of stuff. The child is what's the name? Fresh, clean, fresh haircut, all that type of stuff, hair done, all that type of stuff. That's how the world looks at things. The physical output, not the emotional and mental toll and the spirituality of the child. They can care less. That child can have all that, but ready to off themselves. You see what I'm saying? It is so much stuff of reason why I say this thing, because it has nothing to do with a sex thing. It has to do with the operative and the functionality of a father. They're going to bring discipline. The things that a mother find attractive for their daughter to do, the father's not finding attractive for their daughter to do. They're going to keep their daughter active and organized and out of trouble and definitely away from boys. Fathers don't encourage that.
And that's why it's important to have both parents, whether together or not. Um, that's how I see it. It's important that both parents be there, whether together or not. Because you know my situation, my with my ex, him and I co-parent very well with our daughters. Very very well, and I would say that all the things that you say that a girl needs or a child needs, um no, he can't necessarily provide it because we're not under the same roof, but when they are together and they do get to spend that quality time together, that they are still getting that from their father. um I just think it's important to have both energies and both sexes a part of children's life. It's essential that a boy has his mother and father, and the same for a girl. She needs her mother and her father. But if we had to choose how to separate the kids, in my opinion, I think the girl should go with the mother and the boys should go with the father. Still,
Yeah. For me, I'm still going to hang my hat on both children need to go with their father. The mother's going to still be around, just like if the children were with the mother, the father would still be around. She's just now in the place of the father. She can come see her daughter. She can provide her daughter when the daughter go over her house. She can provide her daughter with that femininity. But the daughter needs to be around. She needs to be in the household, just like the boy needs to be with the father for structure, for order, for guidance, for stability, for protection. They need those type of things, even with me. And I'm in the same role as your child's father. It's so much time that I missed it with my children. And it shows. My children are amazing. You know this. But they're not perfect. They could have been even better if I was there 24/7. They lacked in a lot of love. They lacked in a lot of time. They lacked in a lot of discipline. They lacked in a lot of coaching. They lacked in a lot of comfort when they cried. They lacked in a lot of understanding when they needed to talk and I wasn't there or couldn't get to it. So all those things I can still see where I can honestly say I failed them at places. Even if they turned out good, they could have turned out greater. That's why if I ever am blessed with children ever again, I will make sure I'm there 24/8. It will nothing will stop me from being there because I would not do them children how I did my baby girl and my baby boy ever again like that. I will be there every day, no matter what. And whoever I have children with, they will have to understand that. That will have to be either in writing or something. But that will have to be because my children absolutely need what I bring to the table as far as a man, as far as leadership, and as far as understanding and intelligence. They need that. My children didn't have me 24/7. They turned out pretty good. I can only imagine my children that have me every day, what they would turn out to be. So for me, it will always be, and even if we go by numbers, for those who use statistics around this space, that's their thing. They know it has been proven, and they know I'm not lying. That when a father takes on the full load and responsibility of the child in a broken home setting, is almost have an identical result as having a mother and a father at his full capacity. So, um, but to move, but all in all, like how you stated, for me, I will always encourage marriage first at all costs. So the mom and the dad can be there together to function at its highest capacity to provide the child with endless and consistent support, discipline, love, and nurturing, masculine femininity, like they should have, like all children deserve to have, like all children are worthy to have, as they should have. Um, that is the whole point of this conversation, to find a way that all children can have their mother and father daily, unless, you know, deletion or expiration. They should have their mother and father. So we need to find a way to have black men and black women together on all fronts, and that is marriage. Now, do you have anything to say with that?
I don't have anything else to say.
All right. The one thing that I wanted to ask, because you had said something important. Now, the functionality of the household. How do we get success? Because you talk about this compromise thing. How do we get success?
Um, More actual understanding. Um, Trying to understand the other person's plight, feelings. Um, Putting yourself in that other person's shoe. A lot of relationships, we lack understanding. We lack empathy. I, those are the things that I think, if we were to do that as a community, if we were to try to understand one another's plight and feelings and all that, that we would fare better. We would do better.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
when I try to think of, when I look at, I'll give an example. When I think of what my children's fathers, what I don't know why I said fathers, I'm getting sleepy, but with my children's father, um, how he feels and how you feel, you guys feel like y'all are missing time, precious time with your children, and I agree. You guys are. You have and he is missing valuable precious time. Um and I have to think about, well, what if that was me? How would I feel? So that's why I try, when it comes to my children's father, to always consider his feelings and his wants for his girls, because like he's not there every day like I am. Um so that's one way how we find compromise, is me trying to put myself in his shoes. I feel as though if men were to do the same thing with women and vice versa, we might could start to fix what's going on, the big disconnect that both genders have with one another, and move forward and really grow as a community.
I like that. I like the fact that you stated that since he's not here, you still advocate on his behalf and still consider and operate and function as he's still here by following the directives that he gives for his babies. I wish all women would do that. So thank you for what you do for his and yours girls. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Um, I think that would be tying in because yes, it is 12 now. And I thank you for holding on for me. I know you're tired. I appreciate you having this conversation with me. And
Hmm.
hopefully, once again, people find some solace in this and can use some of the things that we have went over. I have learned a couple of things, and I definitely appreciate you for that. I'm definitely going to look over some of those things. So I thank you, and I thank God for that. That shows that this was needed and purposeful. Thank you guys for those who have stopped in. Afro Truth, Natasha, and I think it was Miss Jill. I appreciate you guys. Um, as always, please like, subscribe, share, and if you want to support, the Cash App is down there. Um, the goal is for us to come together, for us to have functioning families. I'm tired of it. Um, my pool, she's tired of the fact that we as a black community seem to can't get it right, but others are flourishing in their families, and hopefully, somehow, some way, we can find we can find the right supplies to start building this bridge back together and find home. So thank you guys. Have a good night. As always, be blessed. Make sure you pray for us as we pray for you guys. And as always, keep God, our Father, through Jesus Christ first. And seek the Lord while he may be found. Take it easy.
Amen. Oh, can I add?
Yes,
May
ma'am.
the Lord bless and keep you, and may He make His face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. So you all have a blessed, um, I can't say evening anymore, morning, and have a lovely day.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you, guys. See you guys later.